Secretary to the President Lalit Veeratunga says that on behalf of the citizens, the government has to safeguard the country's image from open and hidden international movements. He expressed this view at the inauguration of the Future Gov Forum in Colombo today.
The inaugural session of the second annual Future Gov Forum Sri Lanka 2011 conference conducted by the Information and Communication Technology Agency in Sri Lanka got underway in Colombo today. The event saw the participation of 20 ministerial secretaries, including the Secretary to the President Lalit Veeratunga.
Today, diplomacy has become crucial for governments like Sri Lanka. Take the recent attempts of groups in and out of various foreign governments to tarnish the image of Sri Lanka. ICT could play a life-saving role in our attempts to reach out to the world. There is probably no other way. The pace at which information and misinformation travels utilizing ICT is unbelievable. Governments must take note of this fact and gear themselves to meet the challenge of advancement of ICT. On behalf of one's citizens, government has to safeguard a country's image from different open and hidden international movements, as in our case.
The International Crisis Group, in its latest Asia report, has echoed the call for an international inquiry into the alleged atrocities committed by both the government forces and the LTTE. The ICG report notes that Sri Lanka is now further as ever from reconciliation, largely due to the Tamilist attitude of the present administration, which has refused to even acknowledge Tamil grievances. It warns that concentration of power and wealth in the presidential family will lead to a renewed risk of conflict once again. The organization has called on India, Japan, the United Kingdom, the United States, the United Nations and the European Union to send a strong message against the increasing authoritarianism and to call for accountability, especially on the events in the last days of the war.
The International Crisis Group points out that Sri Lanka eventually should also have an independent, inclusive truth commission to examine injustices suffered by all communities. The report highlights some recommendations to the government of Sri Lanka. End the state of emergency and revise anti-terrorism legislation to comply with international law. Make available to family members the names and locations of all individuals detained for suspected involvement in the LTTE. Issue accurate death certificates or declarations of absence for those who were killed or went missing in the conflict. Permit all displaced persons and returnees full freedom of movement. Return land, houses, vehicles and other property seized by the military and implement a single scheme for compensating victims of all ethnic groups. Expedite elections for the Northern Provincial Council. Decentralized decision-making on economic development. Commit publicly to the goal of reaching a political settlement on devolution through talks. End all attacks on and threats against journalists and civil society actors and stop abuse of the state media. And reverse the consolidation of power in the presidency and military, including by proposing legislation to repeal the 18th Amendment to the Constitution. The ICG has also highlighted some recommendations for the Tamil diaspora. Help create the conditions needed to pursue meaningful reconciliation among all ethnic communities. Renounce the LTT's brutality against Sinhalese, Muslims and Tamils and repression of dissent within the Tamil community. Acknowledge that the LTT shares responsibility for the suffering and massive loss of Tamil life in the north in the final stages of the conflict, and support and cooperate with the investigation and prosecution of alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity by the LTTE throughout the conflict. The International Crisis Group is an international organization whose mission is to prevent and resolve global crises. It provides advice to such bodies as the United Nations, European Union and the World Bank. The organization is currently headed by former UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Louise Arbour.
Now, we contacted UPFA parliamentarian Professor Rajiva Vijayasinghe to obtain the government's reaction to the ICG report.
I've only read the executive summary, but it seems to me very typical of the type of thing that ICJ does. You know, don't forget ICJ for the last 3 or 4 years has been pressing for international intervention in Sri Lanka. Its former head, Gareth Evans, produced a really rather nasty speech which he couldn't explain. When I asked him to say why he talked of ethnic cleansing, he didn't know. His assistant who wrote the speech, Alan Keenan, then explained it was about the 1990 ethnic cleansing. The problem really is they have no balance. I mean, they talk of the government not looking at reconciliation, ignoring the LLRC, because what they want is revenge. I mean, they talk about things like retribution. I think we should move forward with government and ignore this type of thing.
If
one travels anywhere in the country, it is evident that the government is spending heavily on road development. This means that a considerable amount of public tax money is being spent on road development. Since there are many social and economic benefits that emerge from road development, spending public money on road development can be considered as an investment. It is also noteworthy that the Secretary of the Ministry of Finance is going out of his way to explain to state sector officials the importance of road development and hence the need to carry out this task carefully.
If there are programs that need to be implemented in various areas, implement them. Don't worry about funds. There are enough funds. We need high-quality projects that can change the economy of these areas. Every road that is built must have a lifespan of 10 to 15 years. Those in villages too need some pride. Therefore, make these roads in a way that these people can be proud of it. If there are any shortcomings in the roads, please renovate them.
Though state officials are educated in this manner about the quality of roads, many who are entrusted with the responsibility of inspecting road construction have conveniently allowed contractors to determine the quality of work. Residents that use the Varan-Katagoda-Senagama road in Ampara question as to whether it was a group of blind state officials who were entrusted with the responsibility of overseeing the quality of the Varan-Katagoda-Senagama road, as stepping on this road is similar to stepping on mud.
State money is just wasted and we have lost our road. They pass funds to the village so that the roads can be built, but it has been 20 years and this road is still not built.
This road, which was built over 20 years ago, was not renovated for 17 years, and it was 3 years ago that this road was selected to be renovated under the Maganeguma program.
How can the road be constructed properly? No one comes here to check whether the road is being constructed or not. The road is built the way the contractor wants.
Before spending public money on infrastructure facilities, shouldn't a vigilant set of officials be appointed to make sure that this money is spent in a manner that benefits the people? Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, this is over to you.
Minister of Power and Energy Champika Ranawaka declared open a solar power project in Homagama today, which has been built with the aim of meeting the electricity needs of factories.
The system has the capacity to generate 15 kilowatts of electricity. The specialty of this project is that extra electricity generated in factories can be added to the national grid via the net metering system.
There are no power cuts. There is a continuous supply of electricity. If not for thermal power plants, we will definitely have to go for a power cut. However, thermal power is very expensive. As a result, the CEB is incurring a 120 million rupee loss on a daily basis. Since we provide electricity 24 hours, this will continue to increase.
The gold recorded its highest ever price in history today, when an ounce of gold reached the $1,600 mark. According to reports, the reason for this increase is the debt worries in the US and Europe, which continue to trouble investors. Gold is considered a safe investment and usually appreciates at times of global economic uncertainty.
Rallied to record highs, performing assets over the last 3 months, up over 7.
Making headlines on the News Press International Desk. News Corporation chiefs Rupert and James Murdoch and former executive Rebecca Brooks will be quizzed by MPs later about the phone hacking scandal. The Murdochs agreed to appear before the Commons Media Committee after it issued a summons for them.
It is the first time Rupert Murdoch has faced MPs in over 40 years of media ownership in the UK. Two senior police figures who quit over the scandal also face MPs' questions.
We in the police service are truly accountable. Those of us who take on the most difficult jobs clearly have to stand up and be counted when things go wrong.
The committee hearing is the latest in a series of dramatic developments in the phone hacking saga. Rebecca Brooks quit as chief executive of News International, the UK arm of News Corporation, on Friday. On Sunday, she was arrested on suspicion of conspiring to intercept communications and corruption. Metropolitan Police Commissioner Sir Paul Stevenson resigned on Sunday, and Assistant Commissioner John Yates quit yesterday over the hiring of former News of the World journalist Neil Wallace, now alleged to have been involved in phone hacking, as a PR consultant for the force. Cameron remains under intense pressure from Labour and some of his own MPs over his decision to hire Coulson as his communications chief. Meanwhile, a former News of the World journalist who said phone hacking on the paper was even more widespread than first thought is dead. British media reports said Sean Hoare was found at his home in Watford, just north of London. Police, though would not confirm the identity of the man, said they were not treating the death as suspicious.
US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has held talks with Indian Foreign Minister S.M. Krishna at the start of a visit aimed at strengthening political and economic relations. Clinton's visit comes nearly a week after a series of blasts in the city of Mumbai, which killed 19 people.
After meeting Indian leaders, Clinton will travel to the southern city of Chennai, a hub of US investment. The three-day visit is her second as Secretary of State. It follows President Barack Obama's visit to India last November. Clinton, who arrived in the capital Delhi late yesterday, met with Indian National Security Advisor Shiv Shankar Menon for talks this morning. After talks with Krishna, she is expected to meet Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. Clinton's visit will seek to expand cooperation between the two countries, from trade and educational exchanges to anti-terror measures. US officials and political analysts say that Clinton is also likely to press for better ties between India and Pakistan. India is currently US's 12th largest trading partner, with bilateral trade of almost $50 billion.